Hello and welcome to Baking on a Budget. This video is all about how to make your own corned beef pasties at home. We are going to be making 6 beautiful corned beef and potato pasties. Okay, and for the pastry for these, we have 450 grams of plain flour at 22 pence. We have 55 grams of unsalted butter at 41 pence. We have 170 grams of lard at 35 pence. We have a little cold water, difficult to cost. And we have a pinch of salt, which is also difficult to cost. Now for the filling, I have a 340 gram tin of corned beef, which I paid £2.09 for. That was in Aldi. We have 340 grams of potato at 31 pence. We have 1 onion at 9 pence. We have an egg at 13 pence. And we have some black pepper at about 4 pence. So first of all, we are going to put the pastry together. And in there we have 450 grams of plain flour, and to that we are adding the fats, which is 55 grams of butter and 170 grams of lard. This one is going to be quite lard heavy. I just thought I'd make a change here and have a go at it. To see how the short crust pastry is made in detail, there is a video up here on the screen which will go into that in detail, but right now I'm just going to get on with rubbing these fats into the flour, and this will take a few minutes, so I will come back as soon as I have done that. Okay, and a few minutes later it should be looking like this, like a coarse breadcrumb, and all of the major lumps of the fat and butter being rubbed into the flour. Now I'm going to add some water to that. This is cold water, and I'm going to start by adding about 4 tablespoons, and then we'll see how that comes together. If it needs a little more, we'll give it a little more, but we just want to fold that in with a spoon. And I think I neglected to say the full cost of this recipe. The entire cost of the recipe is £3.64, and we're going to get 6 large deep filled corned beef and potato pasties out of that, making each pasty 60 pence each. I'm saying I'm going to put another tablespoon in there. It's just a little bit stiff, so another tablespoonful of water, and that should do it. That is looking good. And I think what I'll do with this to begin with, I'll just cut it in half. It is a fairly sizable block of pastry, and we want it to cool all the way through. So if we just chop it in half, make 2 rounds, and they will go into the fridge. So I'm going to pop them in the fridge for about half an hour, and as I say, we're going to get on with making the filling for these. For the filling, first thing we want to do is just peel these potatoes. This is 340 grams of potato, and this is a Maris Piper I'm using. Very good for mashing, the old Maris Piper. Now I'm just going to cube these, roughly, like so. And they are going into this pan. I have some water from the kettle which I've already boiled, that'll just help them along. And then we want to put them onto a rolling boil until they're nice and soft. And whilst that's happening, I'm going to chop this onion. Again, I'm going to chop this up fairly fine, and I'm just going to lightly fry this to soften it. Right, the potatoes are boiling away. We've got this pan on a very low heat, and I'm just going to add the onions into that and let them soften down. So the next thing we have is this tin of corned beef. This is also 340 grams, same amount as the potatoes. And a lot of people do ask me where I get this food from. This one I got from Aldi in the UK, and it was £2.09 for the tin. And what we want to do is just divide this up. I'm going to chop it in half that way, and then I'm just going to cube it, so it's easy to mix in with the potato later. And we're going to just pop that in a bowl and wait the arrival of the potatoes. Okay, at this point the potatoes have softened nicely. The onions have softened also, and I'm just draining a little bit of the oil off them. The next thing we want to do is just mash up these potatoes. Now I'm not going to put any butter or cream in these. I think the other flavours from the corned beef and the pastry and everything else will be absolutely fine with this mashed potato. Now that's the potatoes mashed. Some escaped, we always do. We're just going to put all that into the bowl along with the corned beef. sure we get everything out of there. And I'm also going to put these onions in there as well. And the last thing we want to do is put a little bit of salt in, and then a really generous crack of black pepper. It's quite a lot of material here, so we want this pepper to get through the whole lot of it. Obviously this is a personal choice, but I do like these very peppery. Now, next thing we want to do is just mash all of that together. And the best thing I've found to use for this is the back of a fork. But it does have to be a fairly stiff fork, because the corned beef is quite solid to begin with until that gets mashed up a little bit. So I'm going to continue combining this, and we'll take a look at it when it's all mixed together. And before too long, that should be looking like that. All of the major lumps of the corned beef have been blended in with the potato and the onions, and that's come together as a nice smooth mixture. Now I'm going to put this to one side, let it cool a little, and whilst that's happening I'm going to start rolling out the crusts for these. And we have the pastry back out of the fridge, and this is the first part of it. I'm just going to cut that into rough equal thirds. Now we want to take one of these. Do excuse the plaster on the finger. I think I just nicked a little bit of the finger there, but it's okay, I think I'll survive. So we want a little bit of flour on the board, and we just want to make that into a round, press it into a round, and then start rolling it out. Now we want to roll this out big enough to take one of these plates as a template, and that's almost it there. Just a little bit more over this side, a little bit more there, and that should do fine. So we're going to put the plate on, and we are going to cut round that with the knife. There it is. So this we want to just set aside over here for a moment or two whilst we do the next one. And each one of these is ending up, it's probably about 3-4 millimeters thick. I think this plate, it looks about a 6.5 or 7 inch plate, that looks like to me. And that should get us 6 of these out of that amount of pastry. And any of this leftover pastry will go back in the fridge. I may make another one of those quiche, the cheese and onion quiche, which there's a recipe here for. I may make another one of those tomorrow, so I'll keep this, and that will do for that, or towards it anyhow. Okay, and at this point we can start bringing all of this together. We have our pastry round, and in the bowl we have our mixture, which I've divided roughly into 6 portions, and I'm just going to take one out of there and spread it over half of this pastry round. And we want to leave a little bit round the front, just to be able to seal that up nicely. There we are. Now this will seal with water, so just a lick of water around the crust. Then we can fold that over, nip it down with the hands, and then crimp it with the fork. That's one gorgeous looking pasty. Same with the rest of them. Can I just say, whilst I'm doing this, if you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more videos of this nature, do consider subscribing to the channel. Many more recipes to come, both desserts and savoury dishes, and indeed main meals coming soon. And for everyone who has subscribed so far, I've got to say thank you very much indeed. At the last count, I think something like 15,500 people subscribed to the channel, which is overwhelming. It's fantastic, and I thank you so much. I do enjoy reading all of the comments, and I get back to absolutely as many as I can. And if this is encouraging anyone to get baking and making their own delicious food, then I am a happy man. So I thank you very much. Okay, now here I have a greased baking tray, and I think with a little bit of luck I'll get 3 of these on each tray. And last but not least, we have the egg here, which I mentioned earlier, and I'm just going to give them a very good coat of egg wash so they'll be nice and brown, nice crisp pastry. The very last thing to do with them is just make a couple of vent holes so they don't burst. I have the trusty knife here to do that, and just make one there, and one there. 6 homemade corned beef and potato pasties. Now these are going to go in the oven for about 40 minutes at about 160 degrees. That's in a conventional oven. There's an adjustment to be made for a fan oven, and the conversion into Fahrenheit and gas mark is in the description of the video below. And here we are, look at these. This is about 45 minutes later. They're done to a turn, beautiful golden brown on the top, smelling beautiful. And I'm going to cut into one, show you how that looks inside. And there it is. Now that is one beautiful pasty. That has a deep filling of corned beef, potato and onion. Has a beautiful light, crisp crust, just golden browned on top. Looks absolutely delicious. And this whole pasty, 60 pence. Look at that. This pastry is just crumbling away. Beautiful. The extra lard in the pastry has really made a difference to it. It has almost the texture of a flaky pastry. I do hope you give this recipe a try. This would make a substantial lunch in itself, or with a few homemade chips or fries, some peas or beans. That would make a beautiful meal. And as I say, if you've enjoyed the video, do please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more delicious, simple to make, inexpensive food like this, please do consider subscribing to the channel, because there are many more videos to come. Next video is a jam Swiss roll, or a roly-poly, or a roll cake. I know they're called many different things in many different places, but I would know it as a jam Swiss roll, and that's going to be in the next video. So once again, I thank you very much for watching. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this pasty and loads more videos to come. Thank you very much.